Hi, this is Kim with Scholarly Pursuits. So today we're going to talk about once you've narrowed down your list and you have a job that you want to apply for, now you need to figure out what the application requires, because every job, every organization, their process is different, right? So if you know somebody that works for the organization, that's the best because they can give you the inside story. But if you don't know somebody that works for an organization, you kind of need to do some research about that particular company, what they require as far as their application process. Do you have to have a resume? Do you need a cover letter? Do you need to go to their website? Do they use a recruiter? What is the process for applying for a job for that company? And then once you know the process, then you want to, usually it's gonna be electronic these days. We're not doing pen and paper so much. So usually you're gonna have to have a password and a user ID and log into some sort of employment portal, whether it be the organization themselves or some sort of recruiter. And so with that being in mind, one of the things you want to make sure is you have a little notebook, whether you use it electronically for maybe your iPad or your tablet or your phone, or whether you have pen and paper, but you want to start keeping track of all these websites. You actually kind of should have a folder that you're keeping your employment related materials in and notes that you're going to take, and maybe a journal or something like that, because you're going to want to keep track of all these passwords and user ID. I know they always say, oh, just keep the same password or user ID for every website that you use. But if you're like me, that's impossible. They always have different criteria, numbers of letters and characters that you can have for that particular password. So that doesn't work out for me so much. I try to use the same password user ID, but you're going to need something to keep all this material together. And in the coming weeks, we could show you some examples of things that you could use. But to keep it simple, just use a spiral notebook. If you don't have a journal, index card, of course, is very something that you can keep with you at all times as well. So your phone, for those of you that are electronically, that is your thing, feel free to use your phone, the notes. There's all kind of apps that you can use to kind of keep track of information. So finding out what the requirements are for that organization for the application to be considered for an employment, okay? You want to pay attention to those deadlines. And so for that, I say use some sort of calendar, whether it's a pen and paper calendar to keep track of deadlines. And I always, if I have a deadline a couple days prior to the deadline, I put a little note so that I'm not at midnight the night before the applications due, I'm trying to rush feverishly to get it done, because you know as well as I know, when you do that, something happens. You fall asleep, the computer crashes, whatever it is, and then you've missed that opportunity. Don't beat yourself up if that happens. There'll be other jobs, but there are ways that you can prevent that from happening to you. So either use Outlook or something like that, or a pen and paper, and keep track of those deadlines of when applications are due. And make yourself a little checklist as well. What all do you need for that application? Do you need a resume? Do you need a cover letter? Do they have their agency or their organization specific application? Keep all that information together, what job you applied for, so that will come in handy in days to come. Again, this is Kim with Scholarly Pursuits with an employment tip for you, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.